Well, hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us. Had that little extra music there going on. I got so much stuff going on here. Sometimes I can't keep up. I need a few more hands. But anyway, welcome. Welcome to our take on it, featuring Slim and Shona. And we have a special guest. I think she's been on here enough. We can almost call her a guest host because she's been on here. And we really appreciate she always answers the call, even though she's on the other side of the country, and recently been out of the country in
Other side
Korea.
of the
And the
world.
last right, right, the last video we did was from Korea. So a lot of you might be familiar, Traci Hewitt Hobson, and she is a remarkable lady. She is.
Mm.
An adoptee like myself, so we have that in common. She is she attended VUU. We have that in common, and she's from the city of Portsmouth. We have that in common. Also in common with our co-host Shona. All of us are from Portsmouth, but we brought her back on to give us an update. And if you recall the other shows, she was on a journey, pretty much trying to discover her heritage or find out exactly her, her Korean side, her Asian side. So she's Asian African American. And that's why I titled this show The Journey Discovering My Roots Through My African American Eyes. And the reason I chose that title, Tracy, was because, and like we talked about in the other videos, you were born in Korea and adopted very early and raised in a African American environment, all the way from elementary school to high school, and then went to a HBCU. And that's why I said through your African American eyes, you're discovering your Asian side, your Korean side. So you're back again. And I'm sorry. Shona, how you doing? I forgot to speak to you.
I'm doing well. I'm excited to
Yeah.
hear what has happened with Tracy since she was last on the podcast. It's very intriguing. For those who don't know, she was adopted when she was 4 years old. Is that correct?
That's correct.
um, in Korea from an orphanage there and brought to the United States. And she grew up in the city, as James stated, in the city where we also grew up. And she told us on her last podcast about her journey as being a biracial um, young lady growing up in the beautiful city of Portsmouth, Virginia. So, Tracy, we need you to catch us up. 'Cause I want to know what you find out. What did you see? What happened?
Oh my gosh, it has been a whirlwind.
Well, where do you start?
Right, where do I start? So just a little backstory. I went to Seoul in October of last year, um, on a prayer and a whim, um, to do
And an
this.
airplane, we hope.
Yes, that too.
Well, prayer can get you anywhere too, if you only believe.
Exactly. Exactly.
And if you're one of the Jetsons
Mm.
or Star Trek and beaming
Exactly.
up. Okay, go ahead, Tracy. I'm
Um,
sorry.
but it's been, I was there initially for the first 3 months, was, as we talked about the first time, it was a little bit overwhelming, not so much that it was mysterious, but also very familiar to me when I got to Korea. Um, the first 3 months, I was in this mode of, I need to hurry up. I need to hurry up. I need to hurry up. I have to do, so many things. I've got to go do this search. I have to do that search. And the one thing I learned in those first 3 months was I really didn't have to rush. What I was missing was being present in Korea, being present in the moment, being present in the journey that I was undertaking. And so I stepped back for a minute those first 3 months and said, let me just appreciate Korea, right? Let me appreciate Seoul. Let me, go to the museums. Let me go into the alleyways. Let me go into the markets and things and just really, really absorb the culture around me. So that was my first 3 months once I realized that I didn't need to rush. I experienced my first winter there, and let me tell you, it was very cold. I mean, we're talking
Mhm.
Chicago, New York,
Wow.
cold. It was
And
um,
you're a Californian now,
uh, California
You forgot
girls.
all about that Virginia code. Now you're California.
Exactly, exactly. And not
Got to
that
your soul.
it's snow, but I what literally happened is I went out to the marketplace, hung out, dipped into a little diner for some um, noodles and soup. 45 minutes later, I came out and there was like 3 inches of snow on the ground. Just no warning, no nothing. So it was beautiful though, absolutely gorgeous, but it was very cold. My kids did come visit me, and
Oh.
they spent Christmas with me in Seoul. And that was really nice because they were able to see that I was doing okay. I had found a Korean adoptee community. And one thing I can say about that community is they are very, very, very close knit, um, extremely protective of each other, of all of us, always. And what we find is that we all have very similar stories, right? We've
Mm.
all gone through, and Slim, you can relate to this. We all go through a level of trauma associated with adoption, and learning that it was okay, that I didn't need to be feel any kind of way about that trauma. I needed to be open about it. I need to be clear about it. I need to express it, express what it had done to me, right, over the time, because I had hid from it for so long, and realizing that trauma is real. So fast forward, I came home for a little bit in January, went back to Seoul in February. And that next round, when I went back in February, I decided what I was going to do is truly become um, a true citizen, if you will. And that meant going through the process of getting my ID card, opening up bank accounts, locking into a true place where I was going to live, um, getting a real Korean phone. Right. So I spent the next 3 months doing that. And the process, although it was very, very strict, it was not difficult. And thank God I have dual citizenship, which made it a lot easier. And one of the reasons I decided I needed to do it was because I really struggle coming in and out of the country, both sides. I struggle coming into the US. I struggle leaving the US. I struggle getting into Korea, and I struggle leaving Korea because of the dual citizenship. So this was a way to kind of help me out. So once I established all of that, I really felt good about it. I really felt whole. I felt good. And then I embarked on the true search. And I did some very unconventional ways to do the search. For example, I was sent to a forensics hypnotist. Now, forensics psychology and forensic hypnotists are very, very different than your
Bluetooth
standard.
disconnected.
Go
Your
ahead.
standard.
I'm sorry. I was cutting something off.
Be good.
Yes, I'm sorry. I was cutting something off.
Uh,
I apologize for that. Go
no
ahead.
worries. No worries. Um, a forensics hypnotist literally takes you back to a specific moment in time, right? Very different than a regular hypnotist would do, which I had experienced in 2021 when I went to Korea. And this was in hopes that I would have a memory that would help me in my search. And it could have been a memory of the orphanage. It could have been a memory of my mother. It could have been a memory of a building, anything that would trigger something. Now, the interesting part about going through that hypnosis, it's very, very tough, physically and mentally. Um, I had to actually travel to Daegu, which is about 2 hours south of Seoul, to do it, to meet with this. He's well known in his field, and he specifically works with adoptees. And the only caveat is you had to have been at least 3 before you were adopted for him to help. One of the first things he does is he determines how a person will have memories. Like some people have visual memories, some people have audio memories. You know, they can hear a sound or they can hear something and it will trigger a memory. And other people memory. So I'm one of those people that hover somewhere between very strong emotions or very strong feelings. I can tell you what I felt at that moment, and hover a little bit on visual, but my visuals were very specific, like an object or a flash of a flower or something. They were very, very specific items. But anyway, long
Traci.
story short,
Yeah,
go ahead.
Traci,
Sorry.
since you mentioned visuals, we lost, we have your sound like we did before. I'm sure you're at the point now, like it was last time, you can see us and you can
Uh-huh.
see yourself,
Uh-huh.
but you are blacked out. But anyway, just like we did last time, we'll continue
Okay.
uh, with you talking, and hopefully the video pod will come back. But if not, we'll go this way.
Okay.
Don't know why, but but go
Um,
ahead.
um, anyway, did that. Actually visited a shaman, which was also a very different experience. Went before an organization called the NCRC to pull some records. Didn't have much luck there. They could not locate anything specific for me. Um, Although I'm going to go back and reopen my case with them because we believe that they may have been looking under the wrong name and or the wrong orphanage.
Okay.
So so I've been just taking in a lot of the hanging out with the CAD community, getting more familiar with what that looks like, what we have to do in order to find our roots. Our families have gotten very involved in some of the advocacy things that they're doing over there. A lot of government push, if you will. I've been to a couple of what they call the National Assembly, which is the equivalent to our Congress, our Senate. Been to a couple of hearings where they have specifically addressed the wrongs of what this international adoption from Korea has done. When you think about the hundreds of thousands of Korean adoptees that were either stolen or sold and taken away, and then not only that, but also basically changed a lot of records, changed names, changed birth dates, specifically geared or in making sure that the adoptee could not find their roots coming back. So they were very methodical about it. So a lot of you learn a lot of history, a lot of hidden secrets, if you will, of how this all came to be. So really getting into that, understanding how I'm going to navigate when I go back next month is how I'm going to navigate all of those. I won't say legalities, but the bureaucracy of it all, if you will. So I will be meeting with the consulate here before I go back. There, I'm going to ask them to help me um, put in what they call a TRC application, which is basically a Truth and Rights Commission, where we have the right to, basically it's a demand letter, if you will. But it's a full application that has to be submitted. You have to tell your full story, why you believe that the government has wronged you, if you will. And so they will step in and take specific cases, if you will. So that's the kind of the elevator update.
Yeah, let me tell the audience we lost Tracy's picture, so I just put up this poster here,
Yeah. Do
talking
you
about.
think we could have her go out and come back in? Try that?
Uh, yeah, Tracy, if you want to try that, go out and come back in and see if the picture comes back in, and if not, we'll just continue the way we're doing.
Okay. All right. Let me log off and I'll come back in. I'll be right
Okay.
back.
Thank you, Tracy.
You're welcome.
Shona, it's amazing. One of the things, if you recall, when she was here last time, she mentioned about how the country of Korea, and surely it's South Korea, not North Korea, but the country of South Korea apologized for that whole adoption sort of racket, if I can use that term, that they had going on there. The difference was a lot of those children that were adopted went into better situations. But it was just like Tracy. It was kind of unfair for a lot of them not knowing, you
Yes.
know, their history or where they came from, and
Or
then
maybe even how old they really are.
right, and oftentimes put in situations where uh, it was a better environment, but then they
Yeah.
had to deal with things over here in the
Yes.
USA.
Hmm.
The
She
prejudices and
is.
things like that.
I'm
Okay,
back.
she's back. Let me take this picture down so we can get her fully.
Nice picture, though.
Ah, thank you. That was a mixed Asian forum that we did, that T and I did back in September, right before I left.
Nice.
And Tracy, while you were going, Sean and I was talking about how the government, you told us last time, apologize. Oh, there it goes again. But anyway, we'll just keep going like that. I think.
Okay,
Oh,
you're back.
well, Well, get ready, audience, for in and out situations, but we're going to always be able to hear. But we were talking about how the government, you told us how the government apologized for all that adoption stuff that went on back in the days when you were adopted. And a lot of the children were adopted in better situations. But, especially coming over here to the USA,
I can't hear you
even,
guys.
Oh,
oh,
no. And we can't see you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
no,
I
I
think
don't think
we've
she can
lost
hear us.
audio and visual. That's very, very curious.
Yeah, even with all the technology now, she is in California, and
California.
I think we did California once before this, and we didn't have issues. But
Hmm.
and I expected it from Korea, or I wasn't surprised that we had issues because it's another country. But hopefully we'll get her back before she
Yes.
has to go, at least to
So,
have her voice.
sometimes
Uh,
California can be another country too.
yes, compared to here on the East Coast, and she can't hear us. And I want to tell her to go out and come back in. I think she's probably doing some things on that end.
Yeah, I'm
Let's
sure.
see how she.
But just think to know that you um, came from a completely different world um, before you could remember the world that you've been living in for many years. That's got to be mind boggling.
I'm texting her now. So
Okay. Okay. That's got to be mind-boggling. Um, Especially when you're in school, especially when you see people who look like you but don't look like you. Um, I don't know what the Asian population would be like in Portsmouth when she was growing up. I don't know that I even knew any back then.
yeah, just like now, it's a very small percentage. Even though you see a lot of Asian businesses and things like that, but it's still a very small percentage. And some of our other cities, like Virginia Beach, it might be more prevalent. I
Yes.
think she's coming back.
But I'm
Yeah,
saying to grow up and everyone around you look like you, but then they don't look like you. To feel like you are like there's something missing.
Hmm.
Okay, um, I got that right. Okay, I was just saying how trying to imagine what it would be like growing up in a world like that where there was a part of you where you came from is just not even a distant memory because you were too young to even remember.
It really, from a sense of belonging,
Yeah,
you never really know what your identity truly is, um, and you don't know where you belong. You know, you stand isolated, or I stood isolated a lot most of the time. Um, you do a lot of code switching, right? Depending on what audience you
hmm
in, you start code switching, and then which is really confusing, right? So
yeah. It
yeah,
sounds like me with the class of 1972 and 1973.
yeah. Her real
I don't
class was
belong to
73.
either, but I belong to both.
Yeah,
right.
yeah, and that had to be amazing. But going back and discovering all these things, and I and that last poster you said that was the focus of that was mixed Asians.
Ooh.
I hope you still have the voice.
It was that was a mixed Asian day forum that they do every year. And last year they asked T and I to be on a panel that specifically spoke to um, mixed Asians in an adoptive environment. Um,
So how is that accepted over there in Korea? Because you know how it is over here in the United States. Um, People say they accept it, but it's still kind of a stigma behind it. People trying will walk up to people and say, "What are you?" Like it matters. You
yeah,
know,
in Korea, I would say probably the older generations don't understand it. They have been kept in the dark for quite a bit about the whole adoption fiasco, right? Everything that the government did. So the older Koreans, I would give them grace on it because they really don't know. The younger generation is very curious about it. They're very accepting. I mean, they accept all of us as Koreans. I think what frustrates them the most is we don't speak the language, right? Most of us don't
Mm.
speak it well, or we speak it very little. And that's where I think, for the most part, that's where the frustration comes in. I know personally that I've experienced is not so much that they don't accept me as being Korean. It's more of, why don't you know the language, right?
And
well,
how are you
that's
coming
the
along with that?
I'm sorry.
How are you coming along with that, learning the language?
I am coming along. I mean, I understand it more than I can probably speak it. I can read it. I'm very basic, and I think it's more of um, fear of speaking it out loud, right? And
Yes.
it's more of a psychological barrier than anything. It's not that I don't know how to respond. It's not that I don't know certain terms or certain ways of saying things. It's just that I'm not confident in it. And that is all because of just the psychological, just the trauma of it all, right? It was my first language. I lost the language. And so in the back of my mind, I feel very, a little bit irritated, resentful that I'm having to bring it back. Right? I shouldn't have to do that. I feel a little bit of shame that I don't know. So it's a it's a catch-22. So
Gotcha. And all of that is very understandable.
yeah. Um,
Okay. Seems like I'm getting an echo here. Do you hear it, Tracy? Do you hear an echo?
nope. No.
And Shona, do you?
I I do hear something. Yeah, I do hear the echo. So is that on your end or
No, I was asked Tracy, do you have another device open or just your phone?
Just my phone.
Okay.
hmm,
Just trying to figure out where it's coming from. Okay.
that's interesting.
Okay. When I mute you, Tracy, I don't hear the echo. So with all the internet problems we're having here, now the echo is there. It's not as crazy, but sometimes it on the finished product it comes off a little strange. But I'm not going to ask you to go out and come back in again because that's too much. We might lose you forever. But we'll just continue to do the best we
Well, not
can.
forever.
Yeah. Shoni, can you make it out when I talk to her because I can hear it, the
Yes,
feedback coming in my ear.
I can make it out very well what you're saying, but there seems to be some sort of staticky sounds in the background.
Okay. Tracy,
And
we'll
Tracy,
try to continue. Always wanted to ask you this because the people that you're talking to now in Korea, South Korea, do they ever mention about North Korea and the differences or what kind of interactions does South Korea have with North Korea, or is it any, or is it just that the mil, the that line where nobody crosses and you know that's one country and this is South. North is north and south is south.
It's not even a conversation, and I think there's a lot of people that I think there's a little bit probably of a misnomer about the relationship between the two. Yes, it is a divided country, but they also recognize that none of us are responsible for that divide, right?
Right.
And so, they still consider North Koreans as countrymen, right? And a lot of North Koreans still defect into South Korea, and they're accepted. Um, but is there a conversation? No. Is there a worry? I mean, yes, the two countries are very much still at war. The war never ended. It's in a ceasefire, but there's not a lot of conversation about it. Not a lot of angst about it. None of that.
Yeah, I asked that because I'm sure the adoption thing was going on over there as well. Knowing them. Uh,
Um, you know,
but
we don't know that. And
yeah,
that's the
like you
thing. I
said,
think,
it's no conversation there because
yeah.
just knowing what we think we know about the government. That's if any government was going to take advantage of that, it would be North Korea. But we don't know. All we know is what we hear. We don't know exactly uh,
I,
how they
I
go.
would
But I'm sure
almost, yeah, I would almost venture to say that it's not. It was probably very, very different for. Because first of all, when the country separated like that, I think South Korea was so poor at the end of the war that they were fighting for just their economic stability, right?
mhm,
So the whole adoption thing was first born out of just trying to purify the country initially, right? And then secondly, what they realized that there was an economic benefit to
Value
it,
to it. Yeah, benefit. Yeah.
right? So I would not venture to say that North Korea went into the same one because one, we don't know, and I would not make that kind of conjecture just based on the type country, the just I would not even venture into that space.
Yeah.
I would prefer not
I was
to.
just curious about that because, you know, it's. I think everybody over here would be curious about that, but I understand what you're saying. It just doesn't come up. You know,
Right,
north is north and south is south.
right. And I think it'd be
It's enough
unfair
for
to
you to
make
deal with that. Yeah.
yeah. I think we should leave it at that because I think it's unfair
Yeah.
to have conjecture. They may not have had any adoptions, they may not have.
Right.
So, we don't know. So,
They
So
might not have
Tracy,
allowed it or
mhm.
needed it.
you said that your children came over to visit,
Hmm.
and how did that go? What did you do?
We did everything and anything. We did a lot of local stuff, which they met all of my CAD community, and so they were very embraced. And there's actually a group called the Dokas, which are the descendants of Korean adoptees, and
Hmm,
so that's a very big thing.
beautiful,
Thing those are my two girls. I do have
beautiful.
yeah, my son and the youngest one, Tia. That's my son. So he came. The youngest one came. My oldest one was not able to make it, but they loved it. Well, Tia has been to went with me to Korea when I went in 21. She's the only one that of all of us that is proficient at the language. Um, so they had a blast, but they wanted to be sure that they experienced it from a local perspective, which is what we did. We did a lot of local things, a lot of hidden places, hidden alleyways, and not getting caught up in the commercial. And we did a few of the touristy things, but for the most part, they just wanted to experience everyday life.
Okay.
Yeah.
So did they meet any relatives?
No, no. Um, we haven't even gotten that far as far as knowing. We are pretty sure, probably 95% certain, that I have one sibling, but we don't know where the sibling is or if the sibling is even aware of me. Um, um, but it's very interesting, the whole DNA thing in Korea, because there is a database specifically for Korean adoptees and their families. So if someone is searching for a Korean adoptee or a Korean adoptee is searching for their family, the assumption is that both parties have to be inside of this DNA database, which
Okay.
is only for adoptees.
Mm.
Um, the trick about that, though, is again, a lot of the Korean population of people don't know that that's available to them. So it gets a little tricky because they don't know it's out there. You have a whole plethora of people that would probably be searching if they knew that was available. So that's one of the things that these advocacy groups are trying to push is to let the Korean people know that they can do this. The other thing is that they have kind of restricted the notifications to it has to be mother, father, sibling. It does not expand out to grandmother, aunt, or cousin,
Mm.
or half siblings or half, which knocks out probably three-quarters of adoptees, right? Because then probably in cases, parents are no longer living, you don't have a sibling, your grandparents may not be living, and because a lot of us are mixed or have, parents were never together, then that makes a lot of us half siblings, right? Or half.
Yes.
So it's the Korean adopted community is pushing hard on changing that and saying, look, that just doesn't make sense, right? So, but we know it works because there are some people that have found their families through that system. And it was because the biological family knew about this database. So,
Okay.
Tracy, I was going to ask you what's next when you go back. It sounds like you're getting involved in, what you just stated. How it's getting better as far as uh, Korea dealing with the mixed,
mhm.
race of people, and seems like you're getting involved with that
Well,
show
and
you did last year, and
yeah, it's expanding, right? I don't look at it more as just the mixed Asians, but adoptees in general. Um,
okay, okay,
because the adoptees in general, we have some pretty tragic stories, like very tragic. And I think that the world would be just astounded at some of the things that have happened or has occurred, and what the impact. I mean, the level of suicides among adoptees. The
mm,
level of just no sense of belonging. The wandering of these adoptees. It's very very. It's a world that I don't think anyone would understand unless they were in it, and it's very hard to describe to people. You know. What it has done. I mean, there's studies on what happens when a child is separated from their mother as an infant, right? The people say, "Oh, well, you were too young," but there are studies that physically your body knows, your body remembers your body, and when you separate like that, it causes a sense of trauma that will never leave. So, and there's those kinds of things that I think people don't necessarily think about or consider, but we have all felt it.
well, Tracy, I know you have to leave in a few minutes, but thank God for people like yourself and others that are over there working to inform the rest of the world about what's going on. Because just like over here in the United States, we have our issues with adoption and uh, many other issues that we try to deal with, and education or people being informed helps
Hmm.
us better understand what's going on and better understand each other, because people look at people that are different sometimes, and think uh, some kind of way about them, which is unfair.
Right.
But
No, absolutely.
just
Absolutely.
like you said, people might, why don't you know the language? Now you can imagine over here when people are speaking their language over here, and people yell out, why don't you speak English? Out of frustration. But it goes both ways. It goes both ways.
It
The more
does go both
informed they
ways.
are, the more tolerant I think we will be as a people
Right.
for
And,
people's situations.
I have been very, welcomed in Korea. I haven't run into any, horrible from that perspective. So, love the food, love the healthcare is phenomenal over there. You can go, basically, it's free or pretty much free. Um, so they take good care of their citizens. So I don't, I find that very different than the U.S. They
Yes.
take really good care of Korean nationals.
Yeah,
Um,
and I know you see what's going on over here, so I think the cost of living over there is much better, as far as making a decent living
Actually,
for
it's
the most
not.
part.
Actually, it's not. It's not. The cost
It's
of living
not.
is comparable to California. I would say is
Oh.
comparable. They
High
and it's
rent,
comparative,
high
right?
mortgage.
Yeah, I mean, it's comparative right now. I mean, it's when you take Seoul is 11 million people, right? And so the housing is very in demand or in high demand. Supply is not necessarily there. Um, and they, I can say probably one of the reasons why they're so economically strong is how they're very stringent and strict about people getting into debt, people, trying to keep people out of debt, trying to, so I give them credit for that. So it can be difficult sometimes to buy a house here. Of course, the war that Trump decided he wanted to do has had some impact on Korea. The oil,
Well,
Korea,
everybody.
yeah, they only import their oil, so of course all that has gone up. The Korean won has lowered in value because of the war, um, but they stay strong. I mean, it's the technology capital of the world, right? So
Mhm.
they're a very proud country and a proud people. Um, so for that, I give them credit. Yeah, more
Yes, well,
so than the U.S. And
Tracy,
it's,
we
so now I
give
thought
you
you were
a lot
saying
of
something.
credit.
I'm sorry.
I said, I give you a lot of credit.
Oh, thank you.
A lot of courage to do what you're doing.
Um, there's days when I question what I'm doing, or if and that's not to say that I don't have days where I get lonely, and I wonder or question, you know, what's at the end of this, right?
Mm.
Um, but I'm too far into it now to kind of back out of it. Um, and I don't, and I said this before, I don't walk this journey with any expectations, um, but with a lot of hope. And all I am trying to, at the end of the day, I just want to center my sense of belonging, my sense of identity. If I can center that, then I think I've been successful. Whether I find my family or not, whether I find my mother's family, I just want to center myself from the standpoint of identity and belonging.
Yes, I think that's one of the things people don't understand about adoptees. No matter how good your life might be with your adopted family, and you really feel blessed for that, it's always going to be something missing there. I was blessed to be able to find my family,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, I'm so glad because now I'm the only brother left. But I got a chance to meet all of them and have a relationship with them before they all passed. But
Right.
it's always something that you feel like you're missing. And even though I met them and felt uh, blessed to be able to meet them, I would always think about all that time I missed with them,
I,
And so and I think about that now. But even with the I would say privileged life I had with my adopted family, but it's always going to be that hole. There's something missing there. That and I understand why you are where you are when you go to Seoul or when you go to Korea. It's just something that you have to do to to uh, to feed you know, that hole that might be in your soul.
exactly.
You have to go
And
to
you know,
Seoul
and
to
I
feel that soul. But
right. And I would not be able to do it without the support of my
of your
family, right?
family,
Of
yes.
my adopted family, my village. I have an incredible village around me and surrounded by. So they have held me up. They have pushed me forward. They have encouraged me. So I would not have, I give them more than, you know, um, kudos and gratitude, and very humbled by it, that I've come this far because they have stood behind me, you know.
Yes, and that's so important because some
Yeah.
families say, "Why you need to know that?" So
Um, yeah, I mean, my adoptive mother was not so keen on it, but my extended adoptive family, they have been incredibly supportive.
mhm.
That's
And
awesome.
yeah, and my biological father's family have been extremely supportive, you know. Um, so I couldn't have done it without them.
Yeah. And that was so important, that story with your adoptive father's family, and
Hmm.
especially, finding out that your sisters were your sisters,
Hmm.
your
Exactly. My
AKA
soror.
sisters.
Exactly.
Yes.
Amazing.
But anyway, I know you have to go, and we don't want to hold you any longer. But thanks so much. And even with all the technical problems we had here, hopefully you shared some information that's going to help somebody, or just basically inform people about what some adoptees go through, and uh, how great adoption can be. Because it, just imagine, even though you're trying to find out where you came from now, you know, it could have been a very difficult life if you hadn't been adopted.
Could have been. You're absolutely right. It could have
Uh,
been. So that's not. I'm not. That part of it is not missed on me at all. I mean,
yeah.
You're absolutely right. It could have been far worse. Right.
But
So
you still need to know. You still need
yeah. But I did send you the link to the documentary.
to. Okay,
So
thank you. I appreciate
um,
that.
it is. I will say just yeah, it was a tough one, and I still have not watched it all the way through, just because I experienced it. So
Yeah, because that was early on, right? That was
it
done
was in
early on.
21
Yeah,
when I went back for the very first time. Um,
Okay.
yeah.
I can't
Um,
wait to see it.
yeah.
And
So
I hope our viewers will take a look at it too. What was the name of it, Tracy? Or
it
you said,
is. It's in Korean, but it's basically a documentary on my story that they actually followed me when I went back in 21. They
Mhm.
actually followed me through the initiation of my search. Um, and so that was the first time I went to a hypnotist, which was a psychological, or I guess you call it clinical hypnotist, versus a forensics hypnotist, which I did this time. Um, so part of that is in it. Part of that experience is what happened when I went under. Um,
yeah. To relive some things that you didn't know,
mhm.
that you had experienced. You know.
uh,
that's
yeah,
fascinating.
yeah. And then, just discovering the site of where my orphanage was. I actually went to the orphanage, so there's a lot there. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow. So what did you feel when you went to the orphanage?
It was very overwhelming. At one point, I could not. I had to remove myself from the room. It was it
Mm.
was that it was that hard. It was that emotional for me. Um, and I just remember feeling so many emotions at the same time that I couldn't, I literally felt like I was going to burst. I could not pinpoint any one emotion, but it was frightening, to a certain, it was frightening because I felt so much at one time that I couldn't keep up with processing each one of them, you know what I mean? So, or compartmentalizing.
Mm.
Um, so, and that's in the documentary where I literally had to remove myself from the room.
Mm.
Uh, so, yeah.
Yeah.
I
Well,
can
it was
sort of relate to that.
definitely necessary for you to go through that, because nobody knew coming up through Manor and Union and all those times that you were going through some things,
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I had no
adopted
idea
you.
that's what was going to happen until I was there. I had
Right,
no
right.
idea that I would react that way. So,
Yeah, you thought, oh, I'll be fine.
yeah, exactly. It's like, oh,
Yeah,
this is just a visit. So,
I
but
was
I do. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Shauna.
I was going to say I can sort of relate to that. I don't know if you're aware of my story, my journey to Atlanta with my children. There was, when we first arrived in Atlanta, we had to live in a shelter for homeless people. And fast forward, I want to say maybe 10 or 15 years later, I had an opportunity. I belonged to the AT&T Pioneers, which is um, a community oriented organization. We volunteer on
Mm-hmm.
different projects in the community. So we had one project, unbeknownst to me, until we went, um, where we were going to help to do some repairs at a shelter to, fix it back up, and it just happened to be the shelter that I had once lived in.
Oh, wow.
So when I went into it's the top floor of a church here in Atlanta, and they're still there, as a matter of fact. And when I went in there, my son and myself went. He, of course, he had lived there with me. Um, and when I first walked into the largest area that you first come to, it was like the entire room just came to life.
Mhm.
I could see my son running across the floor, playing with the babies in the room. It's just it's just hard to explain, but you do get a really intense feeling,
Mhm.
like you've been there before. Um,
Exactly.
like it's like an out of body experience.
You're absolutely right, Shauna. You're
Yeah.
absolutely right.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I hate to
Okay,
cut it
Tracy, I know
short,
you have to go. I know you
Yeah,
have
I
to
know
go.
you
So
gotta go,
go ahead.
Tracy.
All right.
but thank you guys so much. It's always a pleasure. Always. So
Thank
The
you.
pleasure
We
is ours. Thank you so
appreciate
much.
you taking the time out for us here in the
you
city of
got it.
Atlanta. Thank you.
You got it. Bye
All
bye.
right.
Bye,
All right. Be
Tracy.
safe.
See you
Be safe.
soon.
Yeah, of course. And if anybody wants to reach out and ask me questions, feel free.
Yes. Yes, indeed. I'm sure people will have some.
Bye
Yes.
bye.
Okay. Bye
Bye,
bye.
Tracy. Be safe.
Thank you.
That's an amazing story.
Yes, it is. Okay. Yeah, I think she's going. I know she had to go. She had something to do, but it's always an amazing story. Even though she's told it quite a few times, there's always something to add to it. And uh, we are so fortunate to get a firsthand, you know, listen to what she experienced.
That is a blessing. And it's very humbling to be able to watch her journey firsthand.
Yeah,
And it's going to be very interesting to see exactly what happens. She
yeah.
doesn't even know what
Everybody.
she's looking for, but at the end, um, I'm more than sure she's going to feel like it was all worth it.
Yeah, I think it's just the fact of being there and having that experience. If she
Touching
didn't
your
do that,
roots.
yeah, if she didn't do that, it'd be something that would be always
Yes,
on her
looming
mind,
in the
and it's
back of the mind.
probably been there all through her life coming up, but more so as she became an adult, and when she got to the opportunity to do something about it, that made it all the better.
What's
And
also
I think,
interesting, go ahead.
mhm, go ahead.
Well, what's also interesting is that they use hypnotists and forensics hypnotists. That's very interesting.
Yeah, and I never thought about that. I mean, that never would have come up with me because it's definitely some, all the doctors have a different type of experience, and it definitely some uh, blank periods in my life that I don't understand why they're blanked out. How can I remember something younger and then something that when I was older is completely blanked out? You know, all I can remember is being in the car and then waking up one morning and being with my adopted family. What happened in between that?
It's
It
it's the
had to be some adjustments with bringing me in the house and sitting down. This is your room.
it's the
I have
trauma.
no recollection of that.
It's
I
the
just,
trauma.
yeah, just remember just waking up
Yeah.
and don't remember the parents. And when my brothers tell me what happened, I said, okay, I must have blocked that out even at a young age because that's some horrible stuff that one of the brother closest to me revealed to me what was happening. He said, "And you were still there when that was going on." And I said, and naturally, some people think, well, you're really young and you don't remember, but I'm finding out you'd be surprised how young children can remember some things. Us as parents always think, "Oh, you don't remember that," and then they can tell you.
But but it is there. It's
Yeah,
there. It just
yeah,
takes a trigger to bring it up.
yeah.
It's there in your psyche somewhere, but it's the trauma.
But
Wow,
I had the memories,
fascinating.
and the hardest thing for me is finding out, and then I'm having a hard time to have that talk with my parents. And never did,
Yes,
never did. They
yes.
weren't prepared for me to know at the time I found out. I guess they wanted to be the ones to tell me, and that time had passed. I'm just trying to figure it out why they never, it's just something that wasn't done back in those days. You just
Yes.
didn't, you adopted them, all of a sudden somebody told me, uh, one Sunday my parents were in church, and next Sunday they were in church with a little boy.
You're like, what? Where did that come from?
We used to have, not a little baby, but a little boy.
Yeah.
And everybody knew what the situation was because
Yeah.
it turns out that
Except you.
a lot of that was going on. A lot of
Wow.
people were adopting, but a lot of people were telling their kids at a very young age. Just remember, and then the thing I've heard and really thought was the greatest thing for adoptive parent to tell adoptee is, just don't think about being abandoned. Just think about you were loved twice. You were loved enough for your birth parents to bring you into this world, and then you were loved a second time for having adopted parents taking you into their world.
Actually
So don't
chosen.
look at it as abandonment, because situations can cause parents to make decisions that they feel are in the best interest of the child. That was in
Right.
my case. The social services had to come in and do some things in our situation, but it all worked out for the better. You know, that's why I feel such a kinship with her. But her story is just even deeper than my story can ever go.
Well,
Yeah,
it's not deeper, I wouldn't think. It's just
there's
different.
two different situations.
Yes. Yes. The trauma is still the trauma.
Yeah, and then her saying that it was so bad for some of them, and suicide came into the picture. You know, it, it, I guess not knowing I mean, who am I?
Yes.
People ask that question of themselves, and they know who their parents are,
Exactly. Exactly.
when they trying to discover themselves. And it used to be a joke, with teenagers would get a certain age, and they would tell them, I'm just, what you gonna do now, son? I'm trying to discover myself." And some of that was crazy, but some of it was real. The kids just trying to figure out, who
That's
am
true.
I? What's my purpose here?
That's
You know,
right.
do
And
I believe in
it's
God?
really tough on them
Yeah,
too because there is a high suicide rate amongst teens when they're trying to, discover themselves.
yeah. I used to really wonder, I would be in church and hear about, you know, creation and all that, but in my mind, I was saying, wait a minute. And then we heard creation, and then we heard about the dinosaurs. We heard about the evolution. Like a fish swam out of the water and he grew legs, and you know. And as a
Mhm.
kid, you're hearing all these stories, and all of them seem impossible to you.
Right.
Even stories in the Bible. And when we were growing up, parents would tell us, don't question, don't ask me no questions. The guy lived inside of a well, and don't ask no questions.
And you're
And
like, but
as a kid, you're naturally curious. You say, wait a minute, Ma. He lives inside
Exactly.
a well,
Exactly. You're
and
naturally curious and analytical.
yeah, but nobody could really explain. Well, I guess scientists explain how we got here, but even their story sounds far fetched. And when you're a young kid, you're trying to figure that all out. Wait a minute, what is? How did
The-
How did all this happen? Yeah, and then as you get older, you just accept. Well, I'm here. You know, we're
I
born, we
may as
live,
well
we
make the best
die.
of
Yeah, I
it.
got to pay taxes. I got to go to work. You know, I can't just sit here and wonder forever who am I.
That's right. Just make the
I'll be
best
sitting
of
in
it.
poverty, trying to figure out who I am.
All right. Well, kudos to Tracy,
Yeah,
man.
kudos to Tracy and thanks and thanks for everybody for putting up. It seemed like we always have the issues with Tracy, and it's because of the distance
That's that's
and I
interesting.
know now it probably was on her end that we heard when she came back and the static came in because we
Yeah.
don't have it now with
Right.
the two of us. But I just had to continue, and I hope it doesn't distort the sound to the point where people, because sometimes I saw the numbers kind of drop off. Sometimes when people heard that, I said, well, I'm not listening to this all the
Yeah.
noise.
Yeah.
And I see that
Um,
probably what happened. But
I
hopefully,
I wanted to ask Tracy. Well, do you have AT&T?
so I
Okay.
guess
Well.
at some point we'll have somebody else from California and see how that goes. I think it's all depends on what kind of setup you have and what kind of Wi-Fi you have, what kind of computer you have.
That's true. And she was on her phone.
Right, and we don't have the top of the line, but we've had quite a few shows and had problems too.
All right. Well, I guess it's a wrap for this week. It's been a busy
Yeah,
week.
it's been a long week, a busy
It's been
week,
a
and
busy week.
we've had it. And thanks for hanging in there with me, partner,
I've
for the
enjoyed it
3 days. And I know you committed to one day, and we did three this week. So,
all. I've enjoyed it all.
yeah,
Very, very interesting stories.
so we'll try to keep it to the Tuesdays, but have people, some interesting people in the pipe,
Yes.
as
And
far
if
as
they can
sharing
come on
information.
another day, then we'll definitely work with you. So don't let the fact that we're on Tuesdays deter you from bringing us your story.
And you have another story too. I mean, uh, you gave us the original story and how you when you got there and all the things you had to do to make the adjustments. And now you've been there how long?
I want to say 38 years. That's a
Yeah,
that's a
and
couple of generations, isn't
yeah,
it?
that's it had a lot has been going on since since you got there and made the adjustments,
Still
and
kicking.
evidently it worked itself out. But life still be life in it. I'm sure
Yes, it
in those
does.
38 years, there was some
Absolutely.
challenges. The life is full of
Absolutely.
challenges. So that's a whole nother thing. 'Cause I got periods in my life where I can talk about it. I don't mind talking about it.
Well, neither
So
do I. I guess it's another story for another day.
yeah, if guests ever drive, we always have a story. But anyway,
Mhm.
thanks everybody for watching. We appreciate you and continue to support us and
Yes, hang in
continue
there
to
with us.
continue to look for more videos. Um,
And
and
we have,
by the way, I talked to a guy today, so I'm preparing him for your visit down here for Thanksgiving. He's a
okay.
videographer, and
Ah,
he's been on the show before. And I said, "Well, look, I have a co-host that uh, comes out of Atlanta, but she'll be down here in Thanksgiving, and we want to do a little something, and hopefully you can film it and tell us how much it costs, and so we can use as an intro or use as a promotion for our show." But
okay.
we want to have something where the two of us are actually in the same space.
That's great. I
So
mean,
he's ready for that. So I'll
I
probably
think
have
some
him.
people assume that we're that we're at least in the same city.
Yeah, in the
We're
same
not
city
even in the
sometimes.
same state.
Yeah, we running into each other at the grocery store and stuff like that. And we're miles and miles apart, but technology brings us together every week, and look forward to coming together in the same space. And I'll probably have him on the show because he's doing some other things, and part of what he does, he has a business videography, but he's doing a lot of other things. Bring him on the show, and
Okay,
maybe
please do.
we promote him. He'll give us a break on doing something.
Well,
That's how it works.
my granddaughter's getting married next year. Maybe we'll just have to see.
We might have to bring him on a few times and promote him. Make sure if you need this guy.
Well, and I wanted to say that I'm looking at a comment that we have from Keith Brown, and
Yeah, he might. I believe he knows.
he's saying to tell Traci I said hey, so
Yeah,
he knows
sorry I
Traci.
didn't see that in time, but he might have been in school with Tracy. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Keith, I don't know if he's still there, but didn't have to be in school with her. But she's a Portsmouth girl, and you probably knew her personally. But I think Keith told me I'm not sure. I'll let Keith tell it.
Okay.
Keith, we want to have you on the show one time. We see you keep popping up, and I know you have a story as well. I hope you,
Okay.
even if you're willing to talk about it, every experience we have is always helpful to someone else. So hopefully we can get you up here, Keith, to talk about it. He is a deacon at Grove Baptist Church. I said that with a question mark. I'm sure he's a deacon. I was trying to think if he's deacon or trustee, but
Okay. Well, maybe we'll
okay.
get to talk to him about that one day.
Yes, for real this time. I'll let
But
you
I
know.
would like to thank him for growing with us, hanging there
Yes,
with
indeed.
us. Yeah,
Yeah,
we're going places.
he's here every show. And Jack
Aw.
Walker, thanks for watching. I appreciate you. And Shannon Glover was on early. He's probably not on now, but that's the mayor of Portsmouth. And I was with him today downtown as they dedicated something downtown. So, and
Okay.
David Ray Chinch. He's an attorney here in the city of Portsmouth. So was his dad. I knew his dad. Sat on the board with him. Thanks for watching, David. Appreciate it.
Thank
All right,
you.
everybody. We're going for real, so Shona can go and eat now. She doesn't eat before the show. But
Well, I
all
got a
those
half
strange noises you heard was her stomach. Tell you every week. So you should be used to it by now. You hear something, that's her stomach. She doesn't
There's
eat
no
before the
secret
show.
safe with you, is there?
So go get something to eat and take care of that stomach.
Thank you, sir.
They're starting to talk in
It has been a
rhymes.
pleasure.
Yes. All right. Take care,
All right,
everybody. We'll see you
guys.
next.
We'll see
See you
you
next
next
time.
week.
Next week.
Thank you. And remember, subscribe, like
You
and
heard
share.
it. You heard it from her. If you don't believe me, you heard it from her. Take care. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.